Good morning. Morning, Retro. How you doing this morning? It's a wonderful day in the neighborhood here. It really is. I, I tell you, I've got this dog sitting here next to me on the couch. Yes, I've had to. I used to have to stream from the bedroom. Well, that didn't suit this certain critter, so I moved it out to the kitchen. And for a while, that was good. And then all of a sudden, that didn't suit this critter. So now I'm in the living room having to sit on the couch and stream. And while I'll be honest, it's a lot more comfortable streaming from the couch as far as sitting down and relax, being able to relax while doing it. To have a dog to be forced to sit on the couch to stream because of a dog that just wants your company. And if he doesn't get what he wants, he will sit there and whine and bark and fuss and fume until he gets what he wants. This dog runs this house. I swear. I swear our animal, the dog and cat, they run the house more than we do. But anyway, yeah, he's a good doggy though. We've had him now for about 10 years. And even though at our old house he could go in and like our cat, he could go in and out as he wanted. We don't have a doggy door here, so he has to let us know when he wants out. But good dogs are good dogs, you know. He's Jack Russell mix. Oh, cat now. Uh Smokey, our cat, whenever he sees or whenever I've got my phone in my hand, because my phone is in a leather case I took a couple of leather cases and made a wallet out of it. So, I've got my driver's license, my concealed carry permit, my retired military ID in there, plus the two credit cards and bank card that I carry. Uh, that's about it. Then some business cards. But other than that, I mean, but he sees me with that leather wallet in my hand, and he's got to come up and he starts rubbing on it and chewing on it and everything else. And it's like, man, you got to be nuts.
Ahoy.
Good morning, Dar.
I
Joe
don't know
has
what you.
Joe has 7 grandkids.
Yeah.
Wow, you're racking them up, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, only a few people will get that reference.
Morning, Ramen. How you doing over there?
Oh, is Ramen here? Good morning, Ramen. Are you playing with your phone or something?
Well, I'm turning up the volume on it. Why?
Oh, no. I was just curious.
Well, I had turned down the volume because when you first come on, it blasted my eardrums out. So I turned it down a little bit too much.
I blasted your eardrums. I'm not that loud. Come on. Cut me some
Well,
slack.
no, I had the headset turned up too high
Ah,
because I was listening to something else that I had lowered the volume on it. Well, let's talk about this Yahoo. You're a lot more. I'm here a lot more than what I let anyone know. More, yeah. All right, let's talk about this Yahoo. They
so
finally
many
released.
Yahoos.
They finally released the name of this idiot that jumped the Korean border, went across the demilitarization zone. Yesterday morning,
Oh, yeah.
when I'd streamed, they hadn't released his name yet. So, and of course, one of the first things the media does is they run and talk to his mama.
Yeah. His parents and his uncle and all that. Yeah.
Uh, So let's see here. Mom of U.S. soldier who defected to North Korea slaps claims he has fled and urges him to come home after release from South Korean jail for kicking a cop or cop car. Well, first of all, he's not in jail in South Korea. He's in jail in North
No,
Korea.
he was in jail in South Korea,
He was in jail.
and they were getting ready to put him on a plane back to the United States
Right.
when he decided. And and that's part that, I mean, tells me that this guy's not very bright if he thinks that going to North Korea is he's able to escape from army justice that way, or anything, because the treatment he's going to get in North Korea is a whole hell of a lot worse than anything the army would do to him.
Yep. Well, I tell you now, I don't know if y'all have ever listened to Tree of Logic.
Yeah, I have. she's
Okay.
she's good. I like her.
She is really good. I'm going to post her link to her video that she did on this because she can say some things that I can't say. But I had to laugh at and nod my head and agree with and just as okay, this is funny, this is good. So I just posted her link. All right. And after my stream, go ahead over there and watch her or whatever. But watch her 12 minutes on this because it's one of the things she brings up is this young man might have thought that, because North Korea loves Dennis Rodman so much, he thought that he would be just as acceptable. But yeah, if this idiot thought that, then he's a fool. So, okay, let me share this screen here. Whoops, wrong one. Dang it. Dang it. Take me from a tree and hang it. All right, here we go. American
From the
soldier
highest tree.
who had served nearly 2 months in a South Korean jail. South Korean prison fled across the heavily armed border in North Korea, becoming the first American detained in nearly 5 years. Private second class, Travis King. So that tells me this guy's been in the service, less than 3 years. Who had served in the Army, for more than 2 years. Okay, so had been held on assault charges and was released on July the 10th after serving his time. Instead of getting on a plane to be taken back to Fort Bliss, Texas, he left and joined a tour of the Korean border valley upon Panmunjom, where he ran across the border. However, his mom has spoken out denying claims he was fleeing. He didn't want to come back to the States because, like you said, he was on his way to Fort Bliss and he was going to be given a most likely dishonorable discharge. If he was lucky, he was going to get, at best, he probably would have gotten was the bad chicken dinner. So, because I doubt, let's take a look here. This is a young man. All right. According to the officials, King, 23, was taken to the airport and escorted as far as customs. He was set to return to Fort Bliss to face military action after completing a South Korean sentence. He was being held in jail. Okay, I love this. For allegedly kicking a South Korean police squad car. But instead of getting on the plane, King left the airport and later joined a tour of the Korean border, and then he jumped. It wasn't clear how he got to the border or how he spent the hours between leaving the airport Monday and crossing the border a day later. So that's that article. Basically, Mama wants him to come home. But U.S. News and World Report released some more facts about this guy. All right. Travis T. King, who joined the Army in 2021, Cavalry Scout with the Korean Rotational Force. He was originally assigned to an element, the 1st U.S. Armored Division, and is now administratively attached to a unit in the 4th Infantry Division. His awards include the National Defense Ribbon Medal, which you just get for joining. You get out basic training and you get that medal.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a dunk.
Yeah. It's part of your salad. It's so that everybody can wear a piece of salad on their shirt.
Yeah, it's so the youngsters can have a ribbon.
All right. The Korean Defense Service Medal, again, that's just you're assigned to Korea. You get the medal. The Overseas Service Ribbon. You go overseas, you can get either, and at least in the Air Force, you get a short tour or long tour ribbon. So just by going overseas, you get the ribbon. All right, 2 U.S. officials who spoke on the condition of anonymity said he'd
Anonymity.
been anonymity. Thank you. Said he had been due to face U.S. military disciplinary action, but they wouldn't say why. Well, let's see here. A South Korean court ruling said King pled guilty to assault and destruction of public goods from an incident in October. And in February, the Seoul Western District Court fined him 5 million won, which is about $4,000. Now, I'll tell you, $4,000 to a guy that's only been in the service 2 years. That's a ton of money.
Yep.
I don't know what a E2 makes now a month, but
We'd have to look it up.
But living in the barracks, I'm going to probably say he makes maybe $1,000 a month before tax. That would be my guess. But the ruling said King had punched a man in the face at a club on September 25th, but that case was settled. So he probably got agreed to pay the guy off a couple of grand. Then on October 8th, the police responded to a report of another altercation involving King and tried to question him. But he involved his aggressive behavior without answering questions. The police placed him in the back seat of their patrol car where he shouted expletives and insults, kicking the vehicle's door and causing about 584,000 won in damage. So 5 million won is $4,000, so 584. Let's see, basically a fourth of that. So about $1,000 worth of damage. No, about an eighth of that. So $500 worth of damage?
Probably.
Yeah, $500 worth of damage. All right. The court said the defendant had admitted to the charges, had no previous criminal record, and paid 1 million won to fix the vehicle, citing reasons in favor of him in the sentencing. So, all right. Now, okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I don't get why he's doing this. Seems like it would be much easier just to take your punishment and move on.
Exactly. The two U.S. officials said King had finished serving military detention. So he probably got what? Now I don't know about the Army and the Air Force. He probably would have gotten 30 to 60 days of correctional custody.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be sound about right there?
Yeah,
Or,
probably. I don't see is it. Yeah, probably so.
all right. No, in the Air Force, we called correctional custody rebluing. And basically, what it is just like going through basic training all over again. You get out the Air Force handbook, you're having to study the handbook, what's expected of you as a military service member, your march to your chow hall for meals, you got to wake up time, lights out, lights on time, daily room inspections, yada, 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 just, and then, occasional privileges, but that's it. The daily room inspections in correctional custody sucked. I worked correctional custody for about 7 months, and I hated having to do them. I really did. But the things you find when what people are trying to sneak into, because like going, I mean, it's like anything else when you're being sent in as punishment for something like this. You're given a list of what you can and can't take with you, and at the, no cigarettes, no tobacco products at all, no electronic devices. So anyway, he passed through security to his gate at the airport, then fled. The Korean Times citing an airport official reported that King told airline workers his passport was missing to avoid boarding the flight. Civilian tours of the DMZ are advertised at the airport, and King decided to join one. Such tours typically require 72 hours to arrange due to security requirements. It is unclear how King joined. Now, that's a question, but that's a question that the Koreans, because Air Force or the military, U.S. military, doesn't really control them tours a whole hell of a lot, I don't believe. That's all done on the Korean side
What, the tours of the border and all that?
of the DMZ, yeah.
Yeah, that's all controlled by Korea, South Korea.
All right.
It got nothing to do with the U.S. military.
Okay. Sarah Leslie, a tourist from New Zealand who was on the tour with King, said she saw him suddenly run across the border as the U.S. and South Korean troops tried unsuccessfully to stop him. King's motivation remains unclear. Uh, well, Dar, what do you think, as prior military, retarded military such as myself, what would be your opinion as to his motivation to jump the border?
I got no idea. If he's thinking he's trying to get out of facing punishment or something like that, then he's barking up the wrong tree.
All right. Now, yesterday, uh, during my stream, not knowing any of this information, because all this information come out after my stream, uh, like I said, he was an idiot or a traitor.
Yeah.
Uh, he, he was an idiot for jumping the border for reasons, or he was jumping the border and hoping to, be able to give away military secrets, depending on what his job was. Well, because again, no idea what rank he was, what job he held, or anything else. So, uh, His mother told ABC News she was shocked to see her son cross the border. I can't see Travis doing anything like that. Gates, the brother of King's mother, told the Daily Beast his nephew had been breaking down after the tragic death of his 7-year-old cousin earlier in the year. Gates said his son died in late February from rare genetic disorder and been on life support. Now, mental issues. The military is usually pretty good when somebody's having issues like family issues like this. At least while I was in, and all the units and the 3 units that I was involved with, if somebody's having family issues like this, they really made certain you got counseling. They they would reach overboard to make certain you got counseling.
Yeah, especially nowadays. I mean, geez.
Well, I'm even talking, back in the, remember I retired back in '98, and I knew a couple of
Yeah.
people that spent time relieved of all duties, and they were spending time with counselors and such.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, I agree with you. I'm just saying that, especially nowadays, that um, there's help available.
Yeah, the, the and I'm not saying anything bad about it. I think it's rather admirable.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying anything bad about it either. I just,
It it it, it is a good thing that the military looks after the mental welfare of its members because it prevents a lot of um, self-ending of life. You know, removing your own game piece from the board. So, U.S. officials say King is likely to be in North Korean custody. North Korea's state media has made no mention of the incident, and its mission to the United Nations in New York did not immediately respond to requests. Okay. Uh, $1 equals 1,265,000. No, 1,000. Wait a minute here. No, it's $1 equals 1,265 won and 85.85 won. All right. Those extra 2 zeros on there sort of confused me for a second. But if this kid had a mental break, I hope that when he does get back to the States, he's given help. But he is still going to end up with either a bad conduct discharge, a dishonorable discharge, one or the other. At absolute best, he could even pray for, hope for, would be other than honorable. Because I don't think they'd give him a general discharge.
yeah, he could pray for OTH, but that'd be about the best he's going to get, especially at
Right.
this point.
Especially at this point. Honestly, he's going to be lucky if he doesn't face time at Leavenworth. Retro, I don't either, but it, when people have family members die, especially children, people do react. I've seen different reactions that go the whole. I One guy, he lost his nephew when I was in, and he became a total basket case for about a month. It was his sister's only child, and he was the godfather and was really being involved with the kid, you know. So he took it harder than, as far as emotionally, than his sister and her husband did. So, by the way, morning, Lazo. How you doing this morning? Hey, Badger. But I give the odds of that being slim, very slim, because that it's. I think he's was more worried about getting whatever when he got back to the states because of his involvement with Korean police and jail system, court system there. Because if you're active duty military and you screw up and go through another country's courts, the military takes a very dim view on that. That's a career destruction.
Yeah, that's the end of your life as far as military goes.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that was more of his concern. But
Yeah, probably.
but I mean, I I can't again. I only know what I'm reading in the papers and such, so I don't want to, not give the other out.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
look
see,
at
I
look at both possibilities.
well, here's the thing. There's two sides to every story, and unfortunately, we don't always hear about um, both sides.
Right. Uh, and that again, that's why I sort of try to look up. I mean, I've still got another article on this guy, but I'm not going to go into it because it's basically just the same information applied a slightly different way. But anyway, I'm hoping that he does get back to the country sooner or later. If he needs mental help, that he gets it, and that uh, he doesn't get too long in a jail term because he's basically effectively at 22 years old destroyed his rest of his life.
Yep.
So now on to another subject. I
What, another
know
subject?
on to another subject.
All right.
All right,
Cool.
music and what has happened to country music.
Oh, see, all right, you have intrigued me. So let's go.
All right,
Because you know I'm a huge country music fan, right?
right, and I as I am too. I'm a different generation of country music, but
No,
I
you're
do
not.
I do well when I say different, I mean I am not a as big of a fan of today's country as I am uh, early '80s, mostly pre '70s country.
Yeah,
Or
again, not a different generation. I'm not a huge fan of um, the 1990s pop country stuff. I'm not a big fan of that at
right.
all.
Um, it's like the last Country Music Awards show, and one that was just on the other night. Wife and I were watching it, and I asked her if this was supposed to be country music or pop music with a little bit of rap thrown in.
Oh, you actually watch that crap? I haven't watched this
Well,
DMAs in years.
we ended up shutting it off after about 45 minutes.
You sat through it a lot longer than I would have.
So, but uh, I mean, they had cross dressers or trans identifying people as backup dancers, and it was different. Uh, last night they had something on, and finally the wife. I didn't have to say anything. I didn't say anything. The wife just got tired of it and turned the music off. But Jason Aldean is in a little bit of trouble,
Yeah.
and CMT retro. I wouldn't even call it pop. I don't know what I would call today's country music for the most part. But Jason Aldean is a little bit of trouble. People are saying his latest song is racist
Yeah. It's all about lynching.
and homophobic and bigoted and white supremacy and everything else. And here are the actual lyrics. Because you talk about a song, you need, I feel you need to hear or at least know what the lyrics are. That way, you at least have an informed decision. And I'm not going to play it because, well, I just I don't want the strike on my uh, on this video.
What? You don't want to strike on your channel?
Yeah, I don't know what kind.
Coward.
The older music, I get a strike on it, and all I gotta do, for what I play at the beginning,
Yeah.
and all I gotta do is mute it, and the strike goes away. All right, but this one here, I don't know if the strike would go away or not. And
Probably not.
since it's in the beginning or not at the beginning of the show, it'd be harder for me to mute it. So anyway, here are the lyrics: sucker punch somebody on a sidewalk, carjack an old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. Y'all think it's cool? Act like a fool if you like. Well, I mean, this is life in a big city
Yeah.
or any city. Getting sucker punched, carjacking, getting robbed, cuss out a cop and spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, y'all think you're tough. How many protests have we seen where exactly that has happened, over the summer of love? Well, try that in a small town. See how far y'all make it go down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. If you cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town. Well, that whole thing is basically FAFO.
Pretty much.
I got let's see, got a gun my granddad gave me. They say one day they're going to round up. Well, that shit might fly in the city. Good luck. I mean, he's talking about gun control. And who knows what gun his granddad gave him? It could have been an AR. ARs have been around a long time. Granddads and even great granddads now could have given out an AR to somebody. They've been around since what, 1959?
Something like that.
1961, I think, is when Armalite released the first AR. Anyway, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here, we take care of our own. All right, again, that's the chorus. Full of good old boys, raised up right. If you're looking for a fight, try that in a small town. Anybody can be a good old boy. Good old boy don't mean isn't about skin color or race or ethnic origin. Anybody can be a good old boy. There are plenty of videos out there. Everybody seems to make a huge deal about this character Lil Nas being a black country star. Well, I tell you, I'd rather listen to Charlie Pride than Lil Nas, to be honest. Charlie Pride was a country star long, long before Lil
Yes,
Nas
it
ever come
was.
around. He wasn't even a glimmer in his daddy's eye. And basically, the rest of the song is try that in a small town. Now, what goes on in a small town? I mean, I grew up in a town where, again, other than at the very center, and for about a half mile around the very center of town, which consisted of a flashing red light, a flashing yellow light, no stop signs, just flashing red. The traffic signal was a flashing red light going one way and a flashing yellow light going the other. All right. There was a gas station, an antique store, a church, and a small grocery store. That consisted of the very center of town. All right. And for about a half mile on either side of that would be a few homes and other businesses, a couple more churches, the Amish church, the Church of Christ, the Christian church. Uh, and I believe there was a small Jewish synagogue, and there was a Mennonite and Amish church. Well, Mennonite church, not Amish. Amish had theirs out in their area of the county. But anyway, if somebody needed something, every farmer in that town was over at their house helping them out. They had a death in the family. Those people didn't have to do any cooking for at least 2 months. They had so much food, and inevitably somebody bring out an extra freezer to put in their house to help store up some of the food that was brought over. I mean, your barn went down. Everybody was out there helping build up the new barn. Slaughtering season, man. People, who the people that had the slaughterhouses on their property, people brought over their cows or whatever to be slaughtered. So, I mean, everybody was helping everybody all the time. So you didn't get away with acting a fool in a small town in the town I grew up in. And this is what I'm reading from this song. I don't see anything racist.
No, neither do I.
I don't see anything horrible bad about this. It's just saying you don't FAFO. It's
Yeah.
FAFO in a small town. They take care of their own. They help each other. You don't go out there and act, like they say, you don't go out there and act the fool. But the left hates this song. And I would say, I heard somebody else say it this morning, and I got to agree, sort of agree. They hate this song almost as much as they hate the movie Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, Retro, you're right. Times have really changed. Jason Aldean responds to backlash over try that in a small town as CMT pulls it from its rotation. Jason Aldean has responded to the backlash he's received for his song as CMT pulled it. The country singer defended the song, which contains often violent news footage and provocative lyrics. I didn't see any provocative lyrics in there. In the past 24 hours, I've been accused of releasing a pro lynching song and was subject to the comparison that I was not too pleased with the nationwide BLM protest. Well, I don't know a whole lot of people who were pleased with the nationwide BML protest because, I mean, this it's gotten the nickname the Summer of Love because
There
You
was no
know,
love.
there is no love there. People, mostly peaceful protesting. Remember that CNN reporter?
Yeah, fiery but mostly peaceful.
Right. There's not a single lyric in the song that references race or points to it. There isn't a single video clip that isn't real news footage. And while I can try and respect others have their own interpretations of a song with music, this one goes too far.
All right, whatever.
All right. Try that in a small town for me refers to a feeling of community I had growing up where we took care of our neighbors, regardless of differences of background or belief, because they were our neighbors, and that's above any differences. My political views have never been something I've hidden from, and I know a lot of us in this country don't agree on how we get back to a sense of normalcy where we go at least a day without a headline that keeps us up at night. But it's the desire for it. That's what this song is about. As so many has pointed out, I was present at Route 91, where so many lost their lives, and our community suffered another heartbreaking tragedy. That was the 2017 shooting at Las Vegas.
Yep.
All right, they're upset because he refers to a gun. That's what they're upset about.
Yeah, they can be upset all they want.
They say it includes pro-gun messaging and
Oh
violence.
no.
I've got a
Yeah.
gun that my granddad gave me.
Yeah. Oh no. People might actually have guns. That's just horrific. Oh no.
Jason Aldean simply wants to return to a time in America when good old boys could shoot or beat the shit out of people they didn't think belonged in their town. Shannon Watts, the founder of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, tweeted in response.
Yeah, she can bite me.
Amid the backlash, CMT told Good Morning America has pulled Aldean's song from its rotation.
And all that's done is going to make people go out to Apple or whatever,
Uh,
wherever they get their music from and buy it.
It's funny you should say that because I have not verified that for myself, but there's been indications out there that this song is number one on the downloads,
Yeah, go
Apple
figure.
Pod download and Amazon downloads. Why would that not surprise me? Many people also called out Aldean's music video for the song, which was filmed in a town square in front of the Murray County Courthouse in Columbia, Tennessee. That's the site where the Columbia race riot in 1946, after a struggle between a black World War II veteran and a white shopkeeper. They had to go back all the way back to 1946, 80 years ago, to find something racial that happened and try to tie it to his song, to his music
Yeah.
video. Now, it'd been different if he'd gone someplace else, where it happened last year or the year before. If he'd gone to, let's say, where George Floyd died and shot it there. Then okay, maybe he did go there to cause problems. But to go to a place where there hadn't been nothing in 80 some odd years, you gotta be joking me. That's stretching further than even Stretch Armstrong could go.
Yeah, but that's how they roll.
In the music video, Aldean and his band performed the song in the town square at night with the courthouse and the American flag over its door lit up behind them. Oh my God! They had an American flag there. Oh my! That
How
that,
dare
that
they?
them horrible racist people. They're, this is how bad it is. How there are. I've seen more than one video of different people, DoorDash drivers, and so on, saying that if they go to a house that has an American flag flying from it, they will not put their product. I mean, it's DoorDash, Amazon delivery people, whatever, Domino's. They will not take the stuff to the door. They'll leave it at the end of the driveway because we don't go to, because that American flag is a symbol of racism. And those people are racist, and we're not going to go up there because we don't want to get shot. That's nonsense. But that is how bad the left is treating people that own the American flags and what they're trying the symbology, what they're trying to tie the American flag to. One person who retweeted Aldean's music video called it the modern lynching song and added, not one person bothered to say along the way, perhaps don't do that. Another called out the platform. Aldean shot this at the site where white lynching mobs strung up Henry Choate at the Murray County Courthouse in Columbia after dragging his body through the streets and with the car in 1927. Oh my God, 100 years ago, something bad happened there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, 96 years ago, something bad here. Now, I have a problem here. Their fellow country artist Cheryl Crow. Uh,
Cheryl Crow's not a country artist.
no, she is not a country artist, but ABC News says she is.
That's just stupid.
But fellow country artist Cheryl Crow also publicly criticized the track, writing on Twitter at Jason Aldean, I'm from a small town. Even people in small towns are sick of violence. There's nothing small town or American about promoting violence. You should know better than anyone having survived a mass shooting. This is not American or small town like. It's just lame. Now, we've all gone out there, and I mean, unfortunately, we're all exposed to music that we don't like. You
Yeah.
you can't go into a grocery store. You can't go. You know, you're listening to the radio, and you're going to get music that it's like you've got to be kidding me. You hear somebody else playing it out in public, whatever. How much of modern day rap, which is supposedly the music of the century, rap is the best music ever out there.
Yeah, no, it's not.
How violent is that? Hey, useless. Good morning. Good morning, Sean. Yeah, you're right. Arson is now peaceful. And Lazel, I just, so much in rap is so violent. Talking about shooting people, capping people, rape. Uh, just, you know, gang violence, but that's acceptable. Okay, yeah, you could be right about being a communist struggle session. Yeah, yeah, they assume that the criminals in the song that the anybody who who's sucker punching grandma or spitting in a cop's face are not white. That's what they're assuming. But I'm sorry, but most of the violence I saw during the Summer of Love was being committed by white people. Now, the looting was being mostly committed by black people, from what I saw, but a lot of the violence was being committed by white people. Retro Tom McDonald and Dax are the two people I listen to, or I watch their videos quite a bit. Yeah, Sean, looting was reparations.
Yeah, I don't listen to any of that stuff. So yeah, I'm with you, Sean. I'm with you.
Now, even Pat Boone has gotten involved in this.
Yeah, one of my favorite rockers from back in the day.
You know, gospel legend Pat Boone said the country music genre is becoming sick after a barrage attempts to cancel Jason Aldean for filming the music video for an anti-riot song in front of a Tennessee courthouse. Critics say man was hanged before 100 years ago. Well, he's right. Country music is becoming sick. It's that's why I can't listen to a lot of what's today coming out today as far as country music goes. Um, I tried listening to this guy Roll.
Yeah, I had no idea he was a country artist or anything. I did hear one of his songs. It wasn't, I wouldn't call it country, but I didn't hate it.
I didn't. Yeah, same way. I didn't hate it, but it sounded more pop or rapish than country.
Yeah, it was not. Yeah, so in my opinion, it's not country.
No, it's
And see, and this is, I'm somebody. All right, just so you know, I'm somebody that listens to country. I listen to a lot of punk music. I listen to a lot of. I used to listen to a lot of heavy metal stuff. Heavy metal today is not. I don't know what the hell that is, but it's not heavy metal. So I mean, I listen to a lot of different musical genres and styles, and now I know why kids today are so angry all the time. It's because their music sucks.
exactly. I, you're you're right. And their music is so it's about hate. It's not about why music is good or good things. Anyway, uh, DeSantis is being sued again.
What for now? Oh
What?
yeah, I know what for.
What for?
Yeah, so his thing about Chinese not being able to buy property in Florida.
Actually, that's one of the lawsuits. But here's another new one.
No, okay.
A voting rights group filed a lawsuit against DeSantis Wednesday morning over the use of election police and other alleged intimidation of voter suppression tactics aimed at citizens with felony criminal records. Now, a few years ago, a an amendment to the Florida state constitution was put up for a popular vote and basically said that once a person who had been convicted of a crime, of a felony, had completed their sentence, they
Yeah.
would automatically get their voting rights restored. And that's basically what the thing read in a nutshell.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of people, when they voted for this as it was written, assumed that meant as soon as they got out of prison, they got their voting rights back. Well, see, the problem with that is sentencings usually include reparations and other fines and fees. Several $1,000s in court fees, a few $1,000s. They got to pay back to the prosecution. And if there was damage to public or private property, oftentimes they had to pay for the repairs to that public or private property. If merchandise was stolen, and not recovered, they would have to reimburse the person that they stole it from. So there is oftentimes a lot of money involved as part of the sentence. Well,
Yeah.
DeSantis, he just made certain that people, he enforced that the way it was written. Once you complete your sentence, and this sentence includes all these fees and fines and everything else involved, the monetary issue. And if you vote before that happens, then you have voted illegally. Or he would not give, as they say here, hindering the rights of 1.4 million formerly disenfranchised residents. All right. Now, I'm going to be my personal opinion. If you've been convicted of a felony, you should not. You should have to be given back your rights on an individual basis. And other than a violent gun felony, if you get back your right to vote, you get back all your rights, including your Second Amendment rights.
Right.
Because if you are to be participate as a full citizen in this country, that also includes your Second Amendment rights. The Second Amendment is not a lesser right to be bestowed upon and taken away from somebody at the whim of a
Yeah.
court. The lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court in Miami argues the lack of a reliable database allowing people with convictions to determine if their eligibility status is unconstitutional, and a failure to adhere to Amendment 4, a ballot initiative in 2018 to grant voting rights to people with felony records who are in good standing with the law. That is not what the amendment said. Okay, in fact, uh, Florida Amendment 4, 2018. Let's just uh, pull up the actual amendment here. Okay, this what all right, here we go. And There's that. Let me. Here we go. Floor Amendment for the Voting Rights Restoration for Felons Initiative was on the ballot in Florida as an initiating constitutional amendment on November 6, 2018. It was approved. A yes vote supports this amendment to automatically restore the right to vote to people with prior felony convictions, except those convicted of murder or felony sexual assault upon completion of their sentences, including prison, parole, and probation. All right.
Yeah.
Sentences, including, does not say limited to. All it says is including. A no vote opposed this amendment to automatically restore the right to vote, except for those convicted. Da, 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 da. All right. Now, it's not up. I mean, I don't understand, and I voted against this amendment.
Yeah.
Okay, I voted against that amendment. Unfortunately, South Florida and Northeast Florida carried it, which
Yeah.
did not surprise me. The Tallahassee, the Jacksonville area, and then South Florida.
Yeah.
But
They have a way of doing that, don't they?
yeah, they do. Well, that population centers. So this okay. After the ballot initiative was approved, lawmakers in Florida passed a bill clarifying the felons must pay court-ordered financial obligations like fines and restitution before voting rights were restored.
Right.
The need to check for outstanding legal financial obligations complicated the process for those who were eligible. I'm sorry, but you broke the law. It's not we. It's not up to the state to make it easy for you to get your rights.
Yeah.
Uh,
See, and that's the point. And see, right there, that's the point. They're mad because, it's just not automatic and there's things that has to be done.
right. They have to do things, and they don't like it,
No, they don't.
and that's I'm
I
going to
want to
say.
go to,
I'm sorry.
Liesel says, I want to go to Florida.
I would love to have you down here, Liesel.
Yeah, come on down.
Come on down. It's even uh, Ruben. What's
Jennifer Rubin.
no the guy used to be on TYT and he's got
Oh,
his own show.
yeah,
Moved over from California.
yeah,
Uh, the his husband is gay. I I love that he he hosts the Rubin Report. I love his that little quip of his that way.
yeah,
But I mean, living in Florida is great if you can handle. Honestly, you need to before you move here. You need to watch. Oh my God, it's Wicks his
yeah,
videos because he is 100% right with all of his videos. They're great comedy. They're hilarious, and he pushes public. I'm surprised that he isn't paid by Publix as hard as he
yeah,
pushes Publix, especially their chicken, which I have to admit is pretty cotton picking good.
yeah. Publix fried chicken. It's not as good as it used to be, though.
No, but it's still
It's
pretty.
still pretty tasty. Yeah,
It still beats churches and KFC.
Oh, by a long shot. And the nice thing about it, you can go get your box of chicken, your two sides, and your rolls, and it's all one price. It's still less expensive than going out to
Yep.
a lot of chicken restaurants.
And they've got 2-for-1 sodas usually sitting right there too.
Yeah, see, I don't know about that 'cause I don't really drink soda much, so that doesn't really.
Well, the 2-for-1 lemonade or iced teas.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, a lot of
they got 2-for-1 drinks.
yeah, a lot of. I never really paid attention to it, so because I usually just go in and grab the chicken, the couple sides, the rolls, and go. Because
Yeah.
I have a Publix like right down the street. It's 3, 4 miles down the road. So,
Oh, nice.
so yeah, it's like a lot of times what I'll do, and I also have a like really good pizza place right next to it to the Publix, right? So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just, pizza place, call ahead, roll down there, grab a pizza, especially like on the weekends when you're busy
Right.
doing other stuff.
Yeah. I am going to order a pizza. There's an Indian I've got to go in town this afternoon. There's an Indian pizza place. I'm going to order a pizza from them this afternoon and bring home.
Yeah, you should give it a try. Oh, so ramen, yeah, talking my language, ham and Gouda sliders.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, get that little box. Then my wife, throws them in the oven, puts some sauce over the top of them, throws them in the oven. So good.
Yep.
Yeah, we eat those quite often, or like if we're going to have like company over and don't really want to work hard, that's what she'll do. Shit's good. Yeah, so yeah, Publix is yeah, it's like Wegmans but with a Florida accent.
Yep. I I do like Publix going in there. And
You know,
okay.
the thing about Publix too, a lot of people don't realize, right, is that the people that work there, once you work there, you become part owner of of the chain, right? And so you have people that started off there, like working their way through college and that as baggers and cashiers who are now like, district managers and things like that. So, I mean, it's because when Publix came up to Virginia, I was talking to this guy who was part of the training team, right? Training people.
Right.
And we were, so the thing of it is there's a bunch of us that would show up at this Publix at 5, as they were getting her set up and everything. We'd show up at 5:30 every morning to go for a run. And so this guy saw us out there one morning. He goes, "What are you doing?" Says, "Well, this is where we meet up to go for our morning run." So he started joining us, and he was telling us about, how when you start to work is for Publix, that you get to be, part owner. What they do is they give you stock options when you start there. And he was telling me that he started down in Publix down in Florida when he was going through college as a bagger, and now he travels all over the United States whenever they open a new Publix and trains people right how to run the Publix. And he actually makes a pretty good living doing it. So I've been trying to um, you know talk people into, hey, it's not a bad way to start when you're young.
Now, if you can get into a business where you're being, where it's got long-term success plans.
Yeah,
So,
you really can't go wrong.
but anyway, back to this. Let's see here.
Sorry, I
No, no,
sidetracked.
no. That's good. I mean, I took that train. The train will come back to the track sooner or later.
Yeah, eventually.
You know, the 74-page civil complaint says the governor and other defendants issued false or misleading information to citizens to sort through their rights, part of a Byzantine process in which a potential voter's eligibility is often determined by local practices that vary depending upon the county in which they live. Well, that's where you register to vote, is in your local county. Many people sat out elections believing they would be targeted for trying to vote at polling sites. Some were initially told they paid all the state fines they owed, only to be later told there were outstanding balances and therefore were ineligible to vote. Well, if there was an outstanding balance, then they needed to pay it. In 2022, DeSantis orders police officers are deployed to arrest people who are accused of voting in the 2020 election without being eligible. Some of those arrested have been told they were eligible by state officials before they voted. Okay. Um, this is one thing that's always irritated me. State people, government officials are not liable for passing out bad information. They can't be held legally liable for it. And if somebody is like that woman in West Virginia that refused to issue wedding certificates, marriage licenses,
Yeah.
okay, uh, she was not held liable for her actions, legally held liable. Okay, you cannot sue an individual for not in the government for not doing their job because they all have qualified immunity. And that qualified immunity, that's another subject we'll have to discuss one day. I got lots to say on that issue.
Yeah, I think I do too.
But uh, if these people had been told that they were eligible when they weren't, okay, or if they were told they were ineligible when they were, the individual who told them that should be held legally liable for passing out that misinformation. You can't hold that against DeSantis. That is that individual in that county office or local state office or whatever. All
Yeah,
right.
that's fact.
All right. And
Oops.
but see, as a result of the enforcement push, people who are trying to re-enter society were left with the impression if you get it wrong, even in good faith, you're going to get arrested. That's just a fact of life. How many people have, without knowing it, broke a law and ended up, with fines or jail time or whatever for breaking a law they didn't even know existed?
Well, okay, so let's talk about that statement just for a second, if you don't mind.
All right.
You realize that every day when we're just going about our business, living our lives, right?
Yep.
We break probably 6 to 8 laws a day.
If you're
And
going out in public, yes, and most of those laws though are driving laws, driving infractions.
oh yeah, not even that. Well, yeah, that's a big portion, but you probably break 6 to 8 laws a day just by, every time you leave your house. And, there are probably people that without even knowing it or aware of it, probably commit a felony every so often.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
that's just, you know, and yeah, they're not even aware of what's going on.
but I'm still going to fall back on this. If you know, go back to your sentencing. You know what you were sentenced to. You can go to the
Yeah.
courthouse and pull the records to find out what your sentences were. All right. And what fees and fines and any other monetary issues that you needed to pay back.
Yeah.
You need to know, you have to complete, as they say, you can't be on paper anymore. You have to be off parole and probation. And you cannot have committed murder or uh, felony sexual offense. Okay. So you cannot have been convicted of murder or a felony sexual offense. Now, if you committed murder or a sexual felony offense and you went and voted, that's pretty blatant. You broke the law. You weren't eligible to vote. And it's been many years since I went and registered to vote. So I am not sure of what the process is anymore. I know back the first time I registered to vote in the state of Florida, I just took my Florida driver's license. It was right after I got my Florida driver's license. I took that to City Hall. So yes, this is before the motor voter bill. Went down to City Hall, stood in line, got up to the woman, said I would need to register to vote. She gave me some paperwork to fill out that said everything that I needed to do. I had to swear, affirm, and attest that everything I put down was right, signed off on it, and she gave me my voter registration card. End of conversation. I got a blank copy of that paperwork, took it home to my wife, and I've come to find out that you have to fill it out and sign it in front of the person there at City Hall. So she went down to City Hall, got all that done. Now, Motor Voter, I've never done anything through Motor Voter. But I imagine that you don't have to swear, affirm, or attest to anything.
What, the motor voter? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I did it. Um, well, you sign a piece of paper that says that you're affirming that all the information on there is correct and all that.
Okay. I still don't like Motor Voter.
I'm not a fan of it either, and again, it just it makes things easier. So from that perspective, but so if and the problem with that whole thing is that if the state legislature all of a sudden says, well, illegals can have driver's license, they just can't vote. But if somebody hands them voter registration when they go get their
Mm.
driver's license, then that just leads to the wrong people getting voter registration and all that. And then, of course, then I like a lot of these states who say, well, illegals can vote, but only in local elections, right?
Right.
And, that's just opening the door for all sorts of bad shit to happen. So I'm not a fan of it. Yeah.
But this is what I love here. This is just a more sophisticated version of the conduct that caused the Voting Rights Act to be passed in the first place. This is the people that filed the lawsuit. The suit seeks an order within 60 days compelling officials in Florida to begin complying with the law, including creating a trustworthy central database where people with criminal convictions can check their status. The group also asked the court to appoint a monitor to oversee the state's compliance with state and federal laws governing voting. Once again, it's not up to the state to help somebody get registered to vote or to make certain that
No,
they're legal to vote.
it is
That
not.
is a personal responsibility. this whole idea that the state has to create a database or a website where Johnny Joe Blow, who was convicted of strong arm robbery without a weapon, or even with a weapon, convicted of carjacking or of kidnap. Because remember, the only two offenses that prevent you from voting is murder or sexual or a felony sexual offense. So kidnapping, perfectly fine. Attempted murder, perfectly fine. Torture, perfectly fine. Carjacking, perfectly fine. Bank robbery, perfectly fine.
Yeah,
We're,
do
we're
we
not,
really want people like that helping to decide how we're going to live our lives? Seriously?
well, um, when they push this law,
I'm just asking
the,
the question.
right, well, when they push this amendment, those supporting it, when they pushed it, they kept bringing up, little Jimmy over here who broke into somebody's house.
Yeah.
Okay. Or this guy broke into somebody's house and walked out with $50, or stole this woman's purse. They kept bringing up the really minor crimes.
Yeah.
You know, stuff that could be a mistake. They ran from the police, and on a they didn't want to get. They're driving without a driver's license or on a suspended license. And they went to get pulled over, and they ran from the police. So they're uh, convicted of that. Well, why shouldn't they get their right to vote back? It was just a mistake. It was a minor infraction. It was a minor felony. You didn't lose your voting rights if you were convicted of a misdemeanor. It was only if you were convicted of a felony.
Yeah. Well, the reason they pushed this is because they figured, all these felons would vote Democrat.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So they should hand you a slip of paper with your fees on it. It's not up to the prison to hand you a slip of paper with your fees on it. Hey, CK, how you doing? Um, again, Sean, I disagree with you here. It shouldn't be up to the state to tell you what you need to do to get your stuff back. You should have to go and do your own research and find out. You were told what your sentence was when you were sentenced. You were told. It's up to you to take care of your business. It's not up to the state to hand walk you through it.
Yeah, that's right. See, we're just a pair of old curmudgeons.
Yeah. Well, I just, but you see, I'm also going with the fact that I also believe that once you get if they've taken away rights from you because you were convicted of a crime, and usually the first right they take away from you is your Second Amendment rights.
It's always, yeah.
So my personal opinion is if they're going to hand back one right, they have to hand them all back. If you've proven yourself to be such a good person, such a rehabilitated, you're now going to be a proper citizen. Wait a second. Okay, if you're going to be such a proper citizen, that you should be able to be involved in the public discourse and getting and deciding of issues via the ballot, then why can't you have your Second Amendment rights back?
Good question.
You're now a proper functioning citizen of the country, of the city, of the state, of the county, of the city, of the town, of your neighborhood. Your rights are your rights, and no one is more important than the other. But again, like Dar just said, I'm an old curmudgeon here with outdated views and opinions.
Yeah, and if you want these rights back, you need to work for it. You need to do your job. This whole hand walking, holding everybody, making things so easy. I mean, all that does is just creates um, people that are willing, are dependent on the government. So, it's like somebody said years ago. I heard this statement and I really like this statement. They go, if you go to a church school, then you're going to think the church is pretty good, and you're more likely to be in line with the beliefs of the church. If you go to a
Right.
government school, you're going to come out of there thinking, well, the government's pretty good and they're helping me out and educating me and all that. So you're likely to fall in line and follow the government.
All right. Now, see, some of this had already been decided once. Some of their complaint has already been decided once.
Yeah.
On September 11th, 2020, the 11th Circuit of Court of Appeals ruled the state of Florida can require former felons to pay all fines and fees before regaining the right to vote. The court ruled the plaintiffs failed to show their constitutional rights were violated. The court wrote in its rulings, the felons complained that it's sometimes difficult to assert the facts that determine eligibility to vote under Amendment 4 and Senate Bill 7066. But this complaint is only another version of the vagueness argument which we've already rejected. The due process clause does not require states to provide individual process to help citizens learn the facts necessary to comply with the laws of general applications. States are constitutionally entitled to set legitimate voter qualifications through laws of general application and require voters to comply with those laws through their own efforts.
Yep.
So long as the state provides adequate procedures to challenge individual determinations of ineligibility, as Florida does, due process requires nothing more. So all this has already been decided once
Yep.
in a previous, in just 2 years ago. Well, 3 years ago now. So I don't understand how this lawsuit is going to was even accepted. Unless it's going to be these people are going to continue to file lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit until they finally get their way.
Well, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to keep doing it and doing it and doing it until they find that one judge that'll give them their way. But the problem is that one judge can be overruled. So,
Well, don't forget any judges have to satisfy with the decision already ruled by the Court of Appeals in Florida. To overgo the Florida Court of Appeals, they have to take it to the Florida Supreme Court.
yep. And that's what they're hoping to do, take it all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States, thinking that's going to help. But
Not this Supreme Court as it's currently set, but the next Supreme Court, who knows? 'Cause we got a couple of people up there getting a little long in the tooth.
Yeah.
Clarence Thomas, if he's there for 5 more years, I'll be surprised. So yeah, this whole mess. When the and just as when the amendment first passed, it had 5 million votes for and 2 million votes against. So anywho, let's see here. You got anything you want to bring up?
Not necessarily. I'm just I'm just the supporting character here.
Well, if
I'm not a.
I didn't know if you had something you wanted to bring up or not.
No, I'm fine. I'm good.
Okay, because
Yeah, no.
basically, I've shot my wad for the morning.
That was quick.
I spent an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, I was a little late. I apologize for
Oh
that.
no, 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 no. Uh, and by the way, how was your trip and such?
Was very interesting. I learned a lot of really unique and interesting things.
Such as anything you care to share?
Sure, sure. Let's see, where am I at? Okay, so um, so what we did is we kind of toured a lot of Civil War battlefields
Oh,
through
nice.
Kentucky and that sort of thing. So I just assumed, and this is, bad on me, but I assumed that Kentucky was a Confederate state during the
Mm,
Civil War, which it was not. Kentucky did not succeed. And so one of the first places we stopped was this place called Camp Nelson. And Camp Nelson was where they did a lot of, uh, you know, training and that sort of thing. And it was also a recruitment center. And most of the um, black troops that were recruited during the Civil War were recruited through Camp Nelson. So, even though Kentucky was a slave state, right? They
right,
did have slaves, but they did not succeed from the Union. And Tennessee was a slave state that did succeed from the Union. So, what would happen during the Civil War is that slaves would escape from Tennessee and trek up into Kentucky to join the Union Army. And so, what they would do is they would bring, wives and kids with them whenever they could.
right,
And so what this caused is Camp Nelson all of a sudden now they're having to house, women and children as well as um, these black soldiers. And of course, that led to some pretty serious things. Um, so that led to some issues in that, and then the other thing that I did not know about Kentucky that I wish I kind of Daniel Boone, right, was commissioned to find a route from Tennessee up to Kentucky, and this was before the Revolutionary War, a couple years before, right, and before we became America. We're still a colony of England,
right.
and so Daniel Boone, he figured out a way to he cut a trail from um, Tennessee to Kentucky called Boone's Trace, and they ended up building a fort there in Kentucky to protect them from the Indians and that kind of thing, right? So But anyway, there was some pretty, they say that Gettysburg was like one of the, there were many decisive battles in the Civil War, right? But uh, the Battle of Perrysville kind of gave Lincoln his ammunition he needed to deliver the Emancipation Proclamation. And so,
Mm.
but because of the Civil War and because of the Emancipation Proclamation, right, that left Kentucky in a weird spot because they're like, all right, so we did not succeed from the Union, but, we're not going to, let our slaves go either. So there was some contention there. So, all in all, it was, pretty interesting bunch of history there.
I love American history because it's so
Well, there's so much that they don't tell you about in, in school and in history
right.
books and that sort of thing. Like, for instance, the battle, a lot of the Revolutionary War battles that happened in the South, right, in the Carolinas.
Hmm.
They quit teaching that in schools um, during Civil War times, right? Because everything associated with the South was evil and bad. So they quit teaching that in schools. So most people don't even know that many of the decisive battles of that war were fought in the Carolinas and in Georgia and places like that. A lot of people don't even know about that because they quit teaching in school because everything that happened in the South was evil and bad. And so you can't, I mean, kind of, it's kind of like that whole thing with when the revolution there in Russia happened, when the commies took over, they edited photographs and everything else to get rid of, um, edit people out of photographs and just, memory hold people and all sorts of events that happen, and that sort of thing. And, and you keep saying, we keep saying, well, I'm glad stuff like that doesn't happen here in America, but guess what? It does, including one of my favorite examples of that is during Prohibition, the photograph um, when they put the golden spike in Prominence Point, they
There in
edited
Utah,
out the
yeah.
bottle of the champagne that they cracked open, right?
Oh yeah.
And seeing people just, they will tell you, well, that can't happen in the United States, but it does all the time.
Yep.
The church, oh, yeah, Raman's still talking about Publix food.
There's a. I tried to during the stream. I got different things popping up all the time on my screen here for breaking news.
Yeah.
This just happened.
Oh, you got to be kidding me. I think that once you start rioting and destroying property and stuff, you kind of how they break their civil rights, how they violate their rights.
$10,000 to 1,380 people who were arrested or subjected to force by New York police officers. On Wednesday, the state of New York settled a class action lawsuit. The plaintiffs claimed that members of the New York City Police Department had violated their rights via the use of unlawful tactics. According to the Times, under the terms of the settlement, the city would pay $10,000 to each of the people who were arrested or subjected to force by NYPD officers during the 2020 riots in Brooklyn and Manhattan. While a number of those involved in the class action lawsuit had been arrested, many were not, simply claimed that they had their ability to exercise their First Amendment rights impeded. In an interview, the lead attorney for the plaintiffs said the goal of this lawsuit was to protect people's rights. Okay. Interesting. Shall we now apply this lawsuit against the people who are been arrested and such for January 6th? Precedent is now set, wouldn't you say?
I would say it is.
Lawyers for the city argued the protests often were not peaceful, highlighting some devolved into looting and rioting. Protesters set cars ablaze, vandalized precinct houses, threw rocks, bricks, and bottles at officers, stabbed, punched, bit officers, and hurled Molotov cocktails. Okay, and that's it. The January 6th protests were a lot more mild than that. I don't remember anything being set afire or anything like that. So Adams now he's got to come up with $13 million to give out to 10,000 people or 1,000 people, 1,300 people. That's 10 grand. Interesting. And your dishwashers are no longer safe because the Biden administration wants to add more regulations to how much energy and water your dishwasher can use. Remember when we used to have to put bricks in our toilet bowl tanks to put enough water, to raise the water level enough to where it actually flush?
Yeah.
I swear these people. The proposed rule would tighten the energy and water efficiency standards for residential dishwashers, despite the fact that standards currently in effect are causing serious problems for consumers. These problems include cycle times an hour or more longer for the norm before the standards went into effect, as well as more adverse impacts. What I swear that our government don't love us no more.
Well, they haven't loved us in a long time. Come on, seriously.
They just don't love us no more. That we get no love from this government.
No, it's about control, is what it is.
Well, your gas stoves weren't safe. Your gas water heaters weren't safe. So,
yeah, it's about control, and that's the thing. I mean, Joe Biden wants to be a dictator.
I don't think it's so much Biden as it is the people that
We're
the
actually running things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the people in these departments.
Yeah. So
it's the problem we had during the Trump administration. The people in the departments push their own agenda, regardless of who the president or who the appointed head of the department is. It's those career employees that are protected by law.
Yeah.
They can't be fired.
And you notice that every time they create a new department or whatever, it always goes under the executive branch too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's one of the things I was discussing yesterday, either yesterday or Monday. No, I didn't stream yesterday, so it had to be Monday. It's one of the things I was. This is when this is Thursday, right?
All day, half the night.
All right, right. Because only so it's either Tuesday or Monday. I streamed it. I talked about it. Um, I went 40 hours. I went almost 40 hours with no sleep. So uh, yesterday was not a good day. I could not sleep the other night,
Hmm.
and could not sleep yesterday. I it took a whole pill and 2 shots of Jack for me to get any sleep last night.
That's wild because I actually slept last night. So
Oh, I slept. I slept good. Adult beverage assisted me in that. But okay, taking you back possibly to your childhood days.
well, what do you want to do that for?
Have you ever accidentally leaned up against or peed on
An
a
electric fence?
cow electric fence?
Oh man, dude, I I actually dared my little brother to do it. He did it. What a dumbass.
I found this story the other day, and I could not help but laugh the whole way through it.
It's from Paul Day All Day. We had the standard 6-foot fence in the backyard, and a few months ago I heard about burglaries increasing dramatically in my entire suburb. To make sure this never happened to me, I got an electric fence and ran a single wire along the top of the fence. I got the biggest cattle charger that the local farm supply place had. It was made for 26 kilometers of fence. I then used an 8-foot long ground rod and drove it 7.5 feet into the ground. One day, I was mowing the backyard with my cheapo 6-horsepower mower. The hot wire is broken and laying out in the yard. I knew for a fact that I'd unplugged the charger, so I pushed the lawnmower around the wire, reached down to grab it to throw it out of the way. It seems as though I hadn't remembered to unplug it after all.
Okay, you can imagine the size of the current going through this fence. A booster, a charger unit for 26 mile of fence line,
Yeah, that's
and
gonna
he's got
be.
this set up around maybe 400 feet of it around his house.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. That's pretty funny.
Now I'm standing there. I've got the running lawnmower in my right hand and a 6.7 gigavolt fence wire in the other hand. Keep in mind, the charger is about the size of a truck battery and has a picture of an upside down cow on fire on the cover. Oh my God. Time stood still. The first thing I notice is my balls trying to climb up the front side of my body. My ears curled downwards, and I could feel the lawnmower ignition firing in the backside of my brain. I was literally at one with the engine. Science says that you cannot crap, pee, and ejaculate at the same time. But oh boy, I beg to differ. At this point, I'm about 30 minutes, possibly 2 seconds, into holding on to the fence wire. My hand is wrapped around the wire, palm down, so I can't let it go because my muscles are contracting around it. Oh my God. Covered in my own shit, piss, and with my balls on my chest, I think. So here I am in the middle of January. It's about 30 odd degrees, 80% humidity, standing in my own backyard, begging for a lightning strike from the sky and God to kill me.
This is obviously Australia.
Got loose from the wire. I woke up laying on the ground hours later. The lawnmower was beside me, out of petrol. It was later on that day that it was later on in the day, and I was sunburnt also. Upon waking up from my electronically induced sleep, I realized a few things. 3 of my teeth seemed to have melted. Poo, pee, and vomit, when all mixed together, does not smell as bad as you might think. My left eye will not open. My right eye will not close. The lawnmower runs like a demon now. Seriously, I think our little session cleared out some carbon fouling or something. It's running better than you. My balls are still smaller than average, yet they are... My balls are smaller than average, yet they are almost a foot long each. The good news is that if a burglar does try to come over the fence, I can clearly visualize what my security system will do to him. And that gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling all over, which also reminds me to triple check before I mow.
Now, I well, when I posted this, I immediately remembered I'd gone out hunting one January. Uh, I went trudging through the snow. Wearing jeans, and of course, I got snow up on my jeans, and it melted down. So my legs were wet. I'm standing in snow. I went to pee up against the fence line and did not know that I did not know it even had an electric fence, let alone that it was on. And when I got knocked back from that, because electricity, urine is a great transmitter of electricity. All the salt and minerals that's in there, and it will
It's a
knock
conductor,
you
not
on,
a transmitter.
it will knock you on your ass. Yeah, you're right, conductor. You felt like it was being transmitted, buddy. The first time I heard this, I sat there and I was cringing the whole time because I understood exactly what he was saying. The house I grew up in had coal furnace, and the house lost its ground one day. I went down to knock open the furnace, and I grabbed a hold of that cast iron handle for the door,
Yeah.
and it was electrified. And he was talking about he couldn't let go of the wire because he was palm down on it. Well, my same thing, and it curled my arm around to where my forearm was laid up against the bonnet of the furnace. Thank God it was an overnight heat. It wasn't a fresh fire in there because it wasn't. I mean, I got nice and red from contact up against it. I didn't get any serious burns, but my forearm and hands were nice and red from it. My brother had to come down, and he was so happy. My brother was so ecstatically happy that he was able to get a chunk of wood and knock my arm off of the furnace handle. He
Oh
he
yeah.
was yeah he was happy that he was able to hit me and not be punished for it. uh, Ramen, you're right. I mean, I can pick. I mean, I picture this whole thing happening. Just from my own experiences with electric fence and dealing with stuff like that happening. So, but I wanted to share that with you guys because I mean that is just so funny. It's unbelievable.
Well, see, I grew up in part of the country where you assumed all fences were electric because of the amount of cows.
Yep.
So
So
I just always assumed they were all electric. And then, of course, too, we were taught from a very early age what to do if someone's, standing there shaking, right, with hold of something metal, use a belt or, a wooden stick or whatever to knock them loose. And I always just wanted my brother to grab hold of something so I could treat him like a pinata and get away with it. See, that kind of my thing.
oh,
So that's what you do with brothers, right?
yep. Okay, let's see here. And while I got your tagline there, is there any do you want to take a minute to explain that, or do you want to just let people wonder if they don't know?
They know. So
Okay.
basically, what it all boils down to is this: is Joe Biden said he had 6 grandkids because Hunter's stripper kid does not count.
Right. This is a tag on his on the stripper kid.
Right. So that's what it's about.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying is he really has 7 grandkids, not the 6 that he says, because he's trying
Uh,
to deny Hunter's stripper baby.
just because he's not proud of it, that doesn't mean
It
uh,
doesn't exist.
it doesn't exist. Exactly right. And let's see here. Uh, I'm just looking at some quick stories, see if there's anything else. Woman gets carjacked by a group of young men. She tries to retrieve her car by locating it via the air tag. They shot her in the head.
That sucks. Well,
That is out in Bakersfield.
on that note, I got to drop.
All right. And
So,
but everybody have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with. All right. And tomorrow, Friday Fun Day. Enjoy it. Bye.